And our next speaker is Devang Aggarwal, and he is a senior product manager at Qualcomm, driving the AI frameworks and API strategy, roadmap, and execution for the Windows on Snapdragon's platforms. He's joining us here in person. Please give a huge welcome to Devang Aggarwal. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
So my name is Devang Aggarwal. I'm a product manager, part of the compute software product team at Qualcomm. And I have the great opportunity to drive the overall AI developer ecosystem strategy, roadmap, and execution for the next generation Qualcomm AI PCs, starting with the Snapdragon X series platforms. So our mission to provide the best possible AI experience to developers like yourself on our Qualcomm Snapdragon platforms really starts by making your AI model deployment journey as seamless and as frictionless and as easy as possible. So in today's session, I'm going to be talking to you all about how you can deploy YOLO models on our Qualcomm Snapdragon platforms using the Qualcomm AI Hub. So at Qualcomm, we are intimately aware that AI is driving our overall day-to-day life. And we have set our North Star to make every product, application, and device more intelligent. And by making Snapdragon the default AI SoC on every single device across the planet. So how does a developer leverage this incredible AI SoC that we've built called Snapdragon on device? So there's a bunch of different AI use cases that users and the developers are actually bringing on device. And those use cases include dictation, text recognition, machine translation, biking detection, optimized charging, photo tagging, camera pipelines with over 25 models, and video calling, conference calls where you're using background filters and all those things, all are running on device. So when it comes to deploying AI use cases on device, essentially you can face significant hurdles. There are multiple runtimes and devices available for developers to really deploy their AI models on the edge. And even after you select the runtime and device target that you want to deploy on, essentially you might face into multiple different issues like app crashes, unsupported operators in your model, performance issues, accuracy issues, memory issues, and quantization issues, and so on and so forth. So the key problems we really need to solve here are, how can you get started and streamline the development of AI applications on the edge? And then second, how can you scale your AI workloads across multiple different devices and get that most optimal performance you're looking for? And finally, how can you rapidly iterate in order to ensure your deployment workflow is as optimal as performant? So we at Qualcomm understand this problem statement really well. And in order to make your model deployment journey on our Qualcomm Snapdragon platforms as easy and as frictionless as possible, I'd like to introduce you to the Qualcomm AI Hub. So Qualcomm AI Hub enables developers to easily quantize, optimize, and validate your AI models on our Snapdragon platforms. So the workflow is quite easy. So you start off by basically picking a model. So we have over 100 plus models available on the AI Hub. If for some reason you don't see a model that's pertaining to your use case on the AI Hub, you can always bring your own model. And then you can select the target platform that you want to deploy on. So that could be the PCs, mobile, automotive, IoT, whatever you want to deploy on. Then you pick a runtime of your choice. So that could be Onyx runtime, TF Lite for mobile, our own Qualcomm AI stack, and so on and so forth. And then you can test and validate the performance of your model on that selected device target that you've selected. And then finally, you can deploy your AI model on the device target. So Qualcomm AI Hub supports Snapdragon and Qualcomm platforms. So currently we support the Qualcomm AI PCs, which is the Snapdragon X series platforms, the mobile platforms, the IoT platforms, and also the automotive platforms. So in a nutshell, sorry. So in a nutshell, Qualcomm AI Hub has over 100 plus pre-optimized AI models for our Snapdragon platforms. And if for some reason, like I mentioned in the previous workflow before, if you don't see a model that's pertaining for your workflow, you can always bring your own model and go through the entire workflow that I just talked about. We also have over a 45 plus cloud-hosted device types for you to deploy on. So it doesn't mean you have to have physical hardware in front of you. This is all running on the cloud. So we have all the hardware targets, all our PC platforms, mobile platforms, IoT platforms, all in the cloud for you to just go and select as device targets to deploy on. And finally, it takes only a few minutes and less than 5 lines of code to really go through this entire workflow with Qualcomm AI Hub. So as we look to increase our model support on the Qualcomm AI Hub, in times to come, we started looking at popular AI models in the market right now that developers are actually using. And Ultralytics is one key model vendor that, due to the whole relevance and the popularity of YOLO, they are really, really key partners for us to start discussing and talking about how we can get YOLO models on the Qualcomm AI Hub. So today, as Glenn mentioned today, that the YOLO 11 models are coming on Monday, we are very excited to announce that the Ultralytics YOLO 11 models will be coming soon, and you will be able to use the entire Qualcomm AI Hub workflow, and they'll be supported on all our Snapdragon platforms from PC, mobile, IoT, and so on and so forth. So now I'm going to segue into showcasing an entire end-to-end demo. And this is going to be showcasing the YOLOv8 demo on our Snapdragon X Elite device targeting the NPU. But before that, I'd like to introduce you to the Snapdragon X series platforms. So back in May, as many of you might have heard from Satya Nadella and Pavan Davaluri from Microsoft, they essentially launched the Copilot Plus PCs powered by the Snapdragon X series platforms. The Snapdragon X series platforms delivers best-in-class performance and battery life. These platforms have the Qualcomm Orion CPU, the Qualcomm Adreno GPU, and the Hexagon NPU, providing the true AI PC experience to developers. The next step change for PCs is how the silicon uses that performance and efficiency to deliver entirely new, more personalized AI experiences right on the device. And enabling Qualcomm AI Hub on these Snapdragon X Elite devices really enables developers to quickly bring their models on device and deploy it very quickly. So with that being said, I'm going to quickly segue over to the demo and show you guys the workflow through AI Hub. So over here, what we see over here is the AI Hub, Qualcomm AI Hub homepage. So you can just go to aihub.qualcomm.com, and this is the homepage of that. So over here, you can explore models across all the different platforms that we have. So this is mobile, compute, automotive, and IoT. So for today, the demo we're going to focus on for compute, which is PCs. So here, for compute, you can see over here that we have over 100 models available for you to go and download and deploy on our Snapdragon X Elite devices. So over here, you can also choose from the different domains and use cases. So for example, if you're looking for a model for audio or computer vision or generative AI or multimodal, you can select from this and then pick a model. So for example, we can choose computer vision and take, let's say, image classification and select a model, let's say, like Inception V3, which is really popular. And over here, we can essentially see the model card over here, and we can see key performance metrics as well when we deploy on the NPU. For example, how much would the inference time be? How much would the memory usage be? And how much of the operators or the layers are actually supported on the NPU? So in this case, all the layers are actually supported on the NPU. And then you can also go ahead and just download the model. So then you can actually develop your AI application to actually deploy this model on the NPU. So this just shows that the models over here you can choose from on the AI Hub. But what I want to show now is that the whole bring your own model workflow. So now you can actually bring your own model and go through the whole AI Hub workflow within a few lines of code and a few minutes. So let me go through that. So over here, I have a notebook over here. And essentially, the first thing what we can do is we can pip install QAI Hub. And this is the Qualcomm AI Hub library that comes along with our whole model zoo itself. So essentially, we've installed this QAI Hub library. Now what we can do is we can configure our AI Hub. So we're essentially linking it to our account. So we can put an API token over here. Now we can see the list of devices that are available for us to deploy on. So you can see over here, there are a bunch of devices over here, from mobile phones to IoT to tablets and XR, auto, and finally compute, which is PCs. And that's going to be our focus today. So now the next thing is that we can set the device target as Snapdragon X Elite, which is our PC device. And then we can compile the model for device. What that really means is we can select a runtime. The runtime over here, because of the most popular runtime that we have on PCs is Onyx Runtime by Microsoft. So we can select that as the runtime. And essentially, we just have to feed this model to the compile job. We set the device as the Snapdragon X Elite. That's what we're targeting. And then we can provide some input shape. And then, of course, select the runtime like Onyx Runtime. And essentially, this will compile the model for the device target that we specified. So now the model is getting uploaded. So over here, we're using the YOLO V8 Onyx model, and we are uploaded it to the AI Hub. Now, I'm going to click on this link, and essentially, this model is currently being compiled. So essentially, this might take a minute or two, but essentially, this is actually compiling the model for that hardware target. So as that compiles, the next step after we compile the model itself for the device is actually running the model on device and getting performance metrics that we really care about. So essentially, we can run this cell, and essentially we're feeding this model to this profile job so then we can get all the profiling metrics. So for sake of time, I've already gone through this. So I can show you some of the detailed performance metrics we get for the YOLO V8 model. And meanwhile, the compile job is also ready. So this is all finished. So here is the profile job that we get at the end. And this is where the YOLO V8, we get the performance metrics on the Snapdragon X Elite NPU. So over here, we can get some metrics like how much is the estimated inference time across multiple iterations, the average inference latency for this model. We get the estimated peak memory usage, which is 5 MB. And then we can see the number of layers that are actually supported on the NPU. So over here, the whole model ran on the NPU. If for some reason the model is being split across multiple different hardware targets, let's say a few of the layers are actually falling back to CPU, you'll be able to see that information over here as well. Apart from this, you can also visualize the model itself through AI Hub. So over here, you can actually see the model graph over here. So as I zoom in, you'll be able to see the entire model graph here. And you can see here that these are all color-coded. So the purple really means that it's all running on the NPU. And we also have other things like, for example, we can see the tensor shapes, and we can also see attributes for each of the operators. So all these things can help us when we're profiling and debugging our models for the Snapdragon platforms. Apart from this, we can also see runtime layer analysis. So essentially, we can see how much time each layer is really taking in the model itself. So we can really see what's the most compute-intensive operators and where we really need to optimize as developers. So that's a little bit about how AI Hub works. Apart from this, now that we've profiled and we've essentially gotten performance metrics and we know where we need to tweak our model, essentially, once we're ready, we have end-to-end object detection sample available for developers to use using the YOLO V8 model. So you can essentially go to this GitHub over here, which there's instructions available on the AI Hub webpage. And you can go to this example application and actually run the application on the NPU. So essentially, you can now go to the aihub.qualcomm.com, go to the Get Started guide, and you can go through this flow within minutes right now itself and get started right away. So some of the advantages of running YOLO models on the Qualcomm Hexagon NPU is that the two main things. One is you get enhanced performance, right? You get increased performance by running on the NPU. And second is energy efficiency. So essentially, when you're running these models for long periods of times, because these are long sustained workloads, you will essentially see a lot of efficiency, and you'll see enhanced efficiency for this. And third, of course, is on-device processing, because nothing can beat that you're doing the inferencing right on the device because of security reasons and also cost constraints. So the Hexagon NPU is really a powerful choice for deploying YOLO models, especially in applications requiring real-time performance and low power consumption. Thank you.
Fantastic. Very impressive stuff. I mean, you know, this is an education for me, but I imagine it's an education for many people. And it's always good to get an update from the mighty Qualcomm. Now, my dear friends, do we have any questions related to Qualcomm, Snapdragon, life, the universe, and anything, or everything, indeed? You're welcome to dial in from the community if you have any questions, or just put your hands up. We have Hannah with the cube of power is hovering just behind you somewhere. Yes, the cube of power, flying to the back room. Thank you, good catch. Okay, we'll come straight to you, my friend, in a moment. We got a community question first.
Yeah, from the community, question came up about quantization and was asking what data sets are available for model quantization on Qualcomm Hub.
So Qualcomm AI Hub itself does not have data sets, so developers would have to take data sets from external sources. But essentially, we have our own quantization toolchain that Qualcomm provides called AI MET, or AI Model Efficiency Toolchain, that provides both post-training quantization and quantization-aware training. So essentially, you can actually, there's instructions over there on where you can pull data sets and do the quantization for specific models.
Great question. Getting into the details there. Quantization, love it. We have another question right here. Could you introduce yourself again?
Yeah, my name is Rodrigo and I study computer science. My question is what is the size of the servers that are behind making all this possible, the computing power behind?
So these are like physical laptop devices that we have in our labs in our San Diego Qualcomm labs. So these are essentially your laptops that are just plugged in, and we are just essentially having remote connection to those devices. So we just have set up all of these devices over there, like mobile phones and all that are all sitting in labs, and these are just remotely we're targeting those devices.
Thank you.
Great question. Very interesting answer. Yes, we have a hand up there from the middle. Okay, good catch. Fantastic.
Thank you. So I'm Marwa. I'm working as a machine learning engineer at Ohio. So my question is, when you are uploading models, are they stored in your cloud, or how is that?
Yes. So AI Hub itself has this cloud. Each account, let's say like a company is trying to bring their own models, they will have their own specific sort of entity in the cloud itself that's only accessible to them. So that's where it's going to be uploaded to that cloud. They'll upload it over there, and then essentially that's their data that they have in that AI Hub cloud itself.
And is it is there a free access for just personal use? Not.
Yeah, it's free access. You can get started right away. You just need a Qualcomm ID, so it takes like 2 minutes to sign up.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, great answers. That was a really good question as well. You know, that old truism is, you know, they do say with some platforms, if the platform is free, you are the product. Of course, that's a good quid pro quo. But when you get to kind of, you know, training models, etc., that can have privacy implications for companies. So great to know that Qualcomm are way ahead of that, and they already have siloed instances. Any more questions from our community or from our VIP IRLs that we have down here? I am looking around. If anybody is, if I'm missing anyone, just throw something at me. Oh, yes, we do. We have another question. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so another question from the community came in, wondering if Qualcomm AI Hub will have support or integration with Ultralytics Hub for automatic testing.
So currently, we haven't explored that, but we are talking to Glenn and Paula and team on seeing how we can further the partnership with Ultralytics. So that's in progress.
That was a great question and exactly the right answer. Wonderful. Do we have any more questions? Any more questions? Okay, we do. No, not agree with that. I think we're good. Are we good? Okay, going once. Going twice. Is there anything else that you would like to share in terms of where people can reach out for you? You got some details there. Qualcomm.com, Qualcomm.com/blog.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just check out aihub.qualcomm.com. That's your gateway to deploying AI models on our Snapdragon platforms. You're going to have a large collection of models. You're going to have sample applications that are available for you to get started with, and you'll have a lot of resources like documentation and all those sort of details will be on that AI Hub. We also have, as part of AI Hub, we also have a Discord channel. So if you go to AI Hub, you'll be able to actually join our Discord channel, and you'll be able to get support right away if you run into any issues.
Nice. Discord for the win. aihub.qualcomm.com.
That's correct.
Fabulous. Okay, my dear friends, please show your appreciation for Devang Aggarwal. Thank you, Devang. Brilliant stuff. Great, great, great.